Tom and I had been to many different hunting grounds over the years, but this place was different. It was an area we'd never been to before, and not a lot of people knew about it. An old hunter friend of ours had told us that the wildlife here was rich, especially when it came to bears, and that we should be extra careful. We'd looked at the map. It was a rugged, hard-to-reach place filled with lakes and dense forests. Just the kind of place we loved, remote, unknown, where we could truly immerse ourselves in the raw beauty of nature. As we set out, we were excited about spending the weekend far away from the city, completely cut off from the noise of the modern world. We'd deliberately left our phones turned off. We were here to hunt and relax. As we drove, we noticed the trees becoming denser, the roads narrowing and turning into dirt paths. I had a feeling that this time, something would be different. This unfamiliar forest felt wilder and more unsettling than any place we'd been before. The moment we stepped into the woods, everything felt like a scene from a movie. The rustling of the leaves, the light breeze, the faint rays of sunlight filtering through the trees. I loved the peace of that moment, but there was also a tension building inside me. When I looked at Tom's face, I could tell he felt the same way. We'd been hunting for years, each time pushing a little deeper into the wilderness. We had set out at dawn. The forest trails were deserted at that hour, and we liked the silence. Tom used to tease me, saying, as if the most important part of this whole thing was the quiet. But today he was silent too. We were here to hunt, but more than anything, I just wanted some peace. A weekend getaway, just being surrounded by nature. I wanted to escape the city and its stress, to clear my mind. With my rifle slung over my shoulder and Tom walking beside me, everything seemed fine. Our cheerful conversations had slowly given way to silence. It was as if we both sensed a looming danger, but couldn't quite put our finger on it. As we moved deeper into the forest, it became darker and more dense. The trees were growing closer together, and as the sunlight began to fade, the unease inside me grew. Suddenly, Tom stopped. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. Holding my breath, I listened. Far off, very far, but distinct. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate steps. "There's something out there," Tom said, squinting ahead. Could it be a bear? We'd seen a few bear tracks in the forest before, but we had never been this close. The surge of adrenaline inside me made my heart race. At that moment, I realized we were about to come face to face with the raw power of nature. We exchanged a look, silently communicating what to do. We couldn't move without a plan. The footsteps got closer. There was an eerie tension in the air that made the hairs on my neck stand up. I signaled to Tom, and we crouched behind some thick trees ahead of us. I gripped my rifle tightly, but my hands were trembling. I forgot to breathe. Then I saw it. A massive black shadow appeared through the trees. It was a huge grizzly bear, probably the biggest I had ever seen. Its breathing was so heavy that it felt like it was making the entire forest shake. The bear stopped a few meters in front of us, sniffing the air. It didn't seem to know we were there, but one wrong move and everything could change. Tom squinted, slowly raising his rifle. For a brief second, everything was frozen in time. The silence of that moment clashed with the screams inside my head. The bear suddenly lifted its head and looked straight at us. That's when I knew things were about to go wrong. Tom pulled the trigger, but the bear was so fast that it charged at us before the bullet could hit its target. Overcome by sudden fear, we started running. Tom tripped into a bush, and when I reflexively glanced back, I saw the bear charging toward him. "Tom!" I shouted. But in that moment, I realized just how powerless I was. I kept running. My brain was screaming orders to my legs, but my heart was pulling me back. Tom's desperate cries for help blended with the bear's roaring. I didn't want to stop, but for a split second, I felt like I had to turn back and help. When I looked back again, the bear was on top of Tom, striking him with its massive paws. I had to do something. Pushing aside the terror inside me, I raised my rifle again and ran toward the bear. I was right behind the huge creature and took a shot. The bullet hit the bear's back. The bear was wounded, but it was still standing. It turned to face me, fury flashing in its eyes. In that moment, I felt like I was staring death in the face. Time seemed to stop. The sound of my own pounding heart echoed in my ears. The bear hesitated for a moment. I used that chance to reach Tom and pull him off the ground. He was hurt, his leg badly injured. He was struggling to breathe. I put my arm around him and started dragging him away. I knew the bear would be back, but I had no idea how much time we had. Somehow we managed to escape. I dragged Tom to a clearing and felt the presence of that massive creature watching us from the depths of the forest. The bear hadn't come back, but we hadn't left its shadow behind. Seeing Tom in that wounded state filled me with guilt. If I hadn't gone back for him, maybe things would have turned out differently, but we were both alive, and the terrifying memory of that forest would stay with me forever. The silence of the woods, mixed with the looming presence of that giant beast, had taught us an unforgettable lesson. Nature is not a force to be taken lightly. Winter had quietly begun to settle atop the mountains. A light snowfall was covering everything in white, while the fog enveloped the surroundings like a ghost. When I arrived at the mountain cabin, I took a deep breath. A sense of peace washed over me. This place had always made me feel both solitude and tranquility at the same time. I was used to being alone, having learned to live with it after losing my parents, especially after my mother's death. That accident would never leave my mind. I had lost her in that tragic car crash. My dad and I survived, but he never recovered afterward. Eventually, his illness claimed him. That's why this place, these mountains, this solitude felt good to me. My only companion was my loyal dog, Max. I got out of the car and looked around. Silence. Only the sound of the wind and snow. Max was in the back seat, eagerly waiting to get out. I liked bringing him to places like this. While the dark, cold, and quiet gave me peace, Max loved running in the wild. I hadn't even brought my phone with me. All I wanted was to clear my head for a bit. I let Max out and took a deep breath. The fog made everything look more mysterious, but I liked that. The mountain air, the light snow, and the solitude, everything was perfect. Max was running around beside me, joyfully sniffing the snow. As usual, we began our walk. As we moved toward the higher slopes, the snow started falling heavier. Our pace slowed, but we were enjoying ourselves. With every breath, my lungs filled with the crisp mountain air. The fog thickened, making everything nearly invisible. But then, from a distance, I heard a howling sound. I paused. Max instantly turned toward the direction the sound came from. Ears perked. I guess there's a pack of wolves, I thought. The sound was coming from far away, probably echoing from a valley. It was normal to come across wolves in places like this, so I didn't pay much attention. Seeing Max's curious expression, I kept walking, talking to him. Come on, Max, they won't get close. But a few minutes later, the howl echoed again, this time closer. The fog was making everything unclear, but the sounds were now more distinct. A sense of unease began to rise inside me. Max, too, was getting tense. His ears were up, eyes fixed on the darkness. It was time to take this seriously. I hadn't expected them to be this close. I slowly stopped and listened. My heart started pounding faster. The wolves were getting nearer. Max stood just a step ahead of me, as if he had already sensed them. Okay, I whispered to myself. We shouldn't go any further. I decided to turn back. We faced the direction we had come from, but then sounds started coming from that way too. The unease inside me was now turning into panic. It felt like they were circling us. The fog was so thick that I couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. Max's fur bristled and he let out the occasional growl. Damn it, I thought. We were trapped. I couldn't tell where we'd come from or where we should go. The fear inside me grew, making my legs tremble. The wolves were very close, and it seemed like we had no way out. Max was more alert than ever, looking at me as if asking what we should do. All I could think about was how to get out of the situation. Shadows began to appear within the fog. My heart leaped into my throat. The shadows were moving fast. I was practically holding my breath. Max had started barking. I tried to calm him with my hand, but I was panicking too. We had to run, but where? Taking a deep breath, I trusted my instincts, picked a direction, and we started running. Our feet sank into the snow and my breath quickened. With every step, the fog enveloped us more and more. My heart was racing wildly. Max was running alongside me, but I didn't dare look back. The sounds were coming from behind us, getting closer. After a while, though, the sounds started to fade. The shadows around us disappeared. We slowed down, but I didn't dare stop. My breath was ragged, and my lungs were burning. The fog seemed to be thinning, but nothing was clear yet. I just wanted to go a little further to see if we had reached a safe place. Just then, Max suddenly stopped. I knew he had seen something. In the fog, there was something on the ground. I approached and felt my heart skip a beat. There was a piece of rope tied to Max's collar. It was knotted, and there was a small note attached to it. Slowly, I untied the rope. My hands were shaking. I opened the note. It had only one word on it. Don't turn back. I froze. Was this a joke number? That's when I realized we weren't alone out here. The wolves might not have been the real threat, but someone, somewhere, had been watching us. Fear, cold as ice, spread through my veins. The only thing on my mind now was getting off this mountain as fast as I could. The shadows were watching us, tracking our every move. The only thing echoing in my head was those two words from the note. Don't turn back.